On March 20th, 2026, a federal complaint was filed in a Detroit courthouse accusing 7 HVAC manufacturers of coordinating to inflate equipment prices going back to January 2020. Together, those companies supply over 90% of every brand an American homeowner would encounter when getting quotes for a new system. 3 of those brands may be on your house right now. The case is captioned Berg versus Robert Bosch. It is filed in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan. The defendants are Carrier, Trane, Daikin, Bosch, Lennox, Rheem, and AAON. By May 14th of 2026, that one complaint had grown to 6 separate federal lawsuits, all naming the same core allegation. One of the 3 plaintiff tracks organized by the court exists specifically for contractors. These are the installers who have been buying this equipment professionally and watching the price climb every quarter for 6 years. You compared Carrier against Trane, maybe Bryant against American Standard. You got 3 quotes, looked at efficiency ratings, and made what felt like an informed decision. That research was real. What wasn't real were the options. Before we get to what those 7 companies are accused of doing with 90% market control, you need to see what that control actually looks like from the outside, and why the comparison you made cannot protect you in a market built the way this one was. There are 3 specific moves that can. We will get to all 3 of them. But first, the brand names. Carrier Global owns Carrier, Bryant, Payne, Day and Night, Heil, Tempstar, Arcoaire, Comfortmaker, AirQuest, and KeepRight. One corporation, 10 brand names. Trane Technologies owns both Trane and American Standard, 2 brands built on the same manufacturing platforms, in the same Trane facilities using the same internal components. Daikin Industries, the world's largest HVAC manufacturer, by revenue acquired Goodman Manufacturing in 2012 for $3.7 billion. Today, Daikin Residential Systems and Goodman Residential Systems are built at the same factory in Houston, Texas. Same lines, same parts. Rheem Manufacturing owns both Rheem and Ruud. Those are identical units sold through different distribution channels. Rheem goes through retail, Ruud through contractor-only supply. Same product, different name on the box. When you got 3 quotes on competing brands, there is a real probability you were pricing equipment from the same parent company twice. Not because contractors are lying to you, because the market was built this way on purpose. A former distribution executive who spent 2 decades inside the Carrier and Watsco supply network said it on the record in 2022. His exact words, United Technologies and the Carrier Corporation are so large they wanted more market share with less monopoly risk. So they created different companies under the Carrier umbrella to sell different lines in different markets. More market share, less monopoly risk. Those are the 2 design goals behind the brand portfolio. When Carrier runs 10 brand names, it is not building 10 different products for 10 different consumer preferences. It is occupying every position on a contractor's quote sheet while maintaining enough legal separation between entities to limit antitrust exposure. The brands feel like competitors. To the corporation, they are shelf space, and understanding that distinction changes every conversation you have with a contractor. The clearest evidence of what that shelf space actually contains is the manufacturing floor. The Carrier distribution executive gave a specific description of the reality inside the Indiana manufacturing plant. An ICP unit, any product sold as Heil, Tempstar, Arcoaire, or Comfortmaker, placed next to a Carrier unit, the model and serial numbers do not differ, he said. It is simply the sticker. The compressor inside a Carrier 5-ton package unit is identical to the compressor inside a Tempstar 5-ton package unit. Then he said this, after this meeting, I will send you a picture of ICP and Carrier units rolling off the Carrier manufacturing line. Nobody cares as long as it is shaped like and runs like a Carrier unit. That was not a leak. That was an industry open secret described by a man who spent his career inside the system. For Daikin and Goodman, a homeowner documented the same reality in an HVAC contractor forum. The homeowner had specifically asked the installing contractor for a Daikin unit, knowing Daikin had acquired Goodman and wanting confirmation of the manufacturer. The contractor confirmed Daikin. After installation, the model number on the outdoor condenser began with GSZC, which is Goodman's model prefix. The contractor's response when confronted: both units are produced on the same assembly line and are identical. The homeowner had been quoted a Daikin price and received a Goodman unit. Same product, different sticker, different price. Ask the HVAC installer what brand is in their own home. Then look at what they quoted you. There is a company most homeowners have never heard of that determines which brand appears on the contractor's quote in the first place. It is called Watsco. It is the largest HVAC distributor in the United States, controlling between 15 and 20% of all residential distribution nationally. No competitor is close. Watsco holds exclusive territorial distribution agreements with Carrier, Rheem, and Mitsubishi. Those agreements carry no stated expiration date. That language is from Watsco's own Form 10-K filed with the SEC on February 28, 2025. Distribution rights on an exclusive basis in specified territories, not subject to a stated term or expiration date. Joint ventures with Carrier alone represented 54% of Watsco's total revenues in 2024. The 2009 joint venture transaction, in which Watsco acquired a majority stake in Carrier's own distribution operations, roughly doubled Watsco's size overnight. One institutional investor analysis described the result directly. For competitors, the transaction closed a significant portion of the market. The executive who spent his career inside this structure explained how the geography works in practice. In one Alabama city, Watsco carried Tempstar. The competing distributor, Johnstone Supply, carried Arcoaire across town. Equipment out of both trucks was the same ICP product. Two distributors had divided the territory. The contractor who quoted Tempstar and the contractor who quoted Arcoaire were not quoting competing products. Your zip code partly determines the brand name on the quote, not product quality, not engineering differences. Territory. The comparison you made between those brands was meaningless. They were not competing. Now here is what this structure produced when applied to pricing. The average installed price for a residential HVAC system in early 2020 was approximately $6,000. By 2024 and 2025, the same installation was running over $12,000. That data comes from Martin Hoover, co-owner of Empire Heating and Air Conditioning in Atlanta, quoted in the ACHR News trade publication in June 2024, a near 100% increase in 5 years. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics producer price index for HVAC equipment recorded annual increases of 7.6% in 2021, then 20% in 2022. Then 7% in 2023. The Berg versus Robert Bosch federal complaint calculates the cumulative result. HVAC equipment prices rose approximately 53.5% from January 2020 through early 2026. Over the same period, the Consumer Price Index for all consumer goods rose 29.7%. That gap, 53.5% versus 29.7%, is the statistical core of the antitrust case. The defendants had explanations. COVID supply chain disruption drove real shortages of HVAC components, copper, and steel. The EPA's mandatory refrigerant transition from R410A to R454B required manufacturers to retool production lines and added legitimate cost pressure. Real factors. The complaint does not dispute them. What the complaint documents is a pattern. All 7 companies announced price increases with nearly identical timing, nearly identical percentage figures, and nearly identical language across earnings calls. Terms like price discipline and price realization appeared in Carrier, Trane, and Lennox investor communications within the same quarters. In a genuinely competitive market, one company raising prices creates an opening for competitors to hold their prices and take market share. That did not happen. Not once across multiple annual cycles. every company raised, every time. The defendants call that market conditions. The plaintiffs call it coordination. A federal court will decide which description fits. What you paid in the meantime is documented in your own invoice. There is one more layer of cost the homeowner never sees itemized. The manufacturer sells to the distributor at wholesale pricing. The distributor adds a margin of typically 15 to 25% and sells to the contractor. The contractor marks up the equipment again before it appears on your quote. Industry data puts that contractor equipment markup at 40 to 100% above their cost. Then labor is charged on top of that as a separate line item. On a 3-ton heat pump system, the equipment markup alone adds between $1,300 and $4,500 to the quote before a technician lifts a wrench. That range comes from AC Direct's wholesale pricing analysis and from Service Titan, the dominant HVAC contractor management software, which publishes guidelines recommending equipment markups of 300 to 400% above cost to hit target net margins. The Air Conditioning Contractors of America estimates that overhead alone consumes 25 to 40% of a contractor's revenue. The markup is not all profit, but none of it is visible to you. Most contractor quotes present a single bundled installed price. No line item for equipment, no markup percentage, one number. The contractor who quoted your Carrier installation and the contractor who quoted American Standard were both sourcing from the same Watsco distribution territory. They were both adding their own markup layer. The installed price difference between the two quotes had nothing to do with the products. You were comparing two contractors' margin decisions, not two manufacturers' products. Here is what this adds up to. 7 companies control over 90% of every brand an American homeowner would encounter when getting quotes. Those brands share factories, share components, and in documented cases share the exact same unit with a different label pressed on at the end of the production line. The distribution network sitting between the manufacturer and your contractor is dominated by one company holding exclusive territorial agreements that carry no expiration date. And the price increases that have nearly doubled the cost of a residential installation since 2020 are the subject of 6 federal antitrust complaints filed within 90 days of each other, now organized by a federal judge into separate tracks for consumers and for contractors. None of this requires bad intent to produce a bad outcome for the buyer. The structure delivers the same result regardless. 3 quotes from 3 contractors selling 3 brand names in most American metro areas means 3 prices on the same equipment from the same distribution pipeline. The competition you thought you were accessing does not exist at the product level. It exists at the labor level. That is the only genuinely competitive variable in most residential HVAC transactions, which means the question is not which brand to choose. Here are the 3 decisions that actually matter. First, go to the AHRI public directory before you talk to a single contractor. The Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Institute maintains a searchable database at acredirectory.org where every certified residential system is registered by model number. Enter a Carrier model number and a Bryant model number from the same efficiency tier. The certified performance data will be identical because the product is identical. This lookup takes 60 seconds and gives you more real information than 3 contractor presentations combined. Second, separate the equipment cost from the installation cost. Wholesale retailers like AC Direct and HVAC Direct sell residential equipment directly to homeowners at distributor level pricing. You purchase the unit. You hire a licensed contractor for labor only. The manufacturer warranty on most major brands requires professional installation, not contractor purchase of the unit. Read the specific warranty terms for whatever system you are considering. In most cases, buying the equipment yourself does not void coverage, and the savings on a 3-ton heat pump run between $1,300 and $4,500. Third, ask the installer what brand is in their own home. A contractor who has spent years installing every product that Carrier, Daikin, and Trane manufacture, then chose one for their own house with their own money. That choice is the honest product review, not the quote, not the presentation. What they installed for themselves is what they actually think of the equipment when no one is paying them to have an opinion about it. This market is not going to restructure itself. 6 federal lawsuits in 90 days will not undo 5 decades of consolidation. But within the market that exists, those 3 moves put you on the side of the transaction where the information lives.